Well, hey there, and welcome back to the Impact Through Voice podcast. As always, I'm your host, Lisa Hugo, and today I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to sit down with a friend and colleague of many years. His name is Geoff Ketterer. Now, Geoff has been in high ticket sales for a lot of years, and he's generated millions in revenue, but he's also been recruiting and training remote closers. Now he runs his own coaching business where he teaches coaches methods to build a business that is based around money, financials, getting clients results, and also freedom. And I think freedom is the key there. We talk quite a lot about that. We talk about high ticket closing on this session, the importance of your voice in communication, in sales, in leadership. We share insights into trust or a lack of trust in the current age, and we share some marketing strategies to help you to grow your businesses. All right, so tons of value. Let's just dive straight in. Hey, I'm Lisa Hugo, and I am obsessed with helping other people find their voices so they can go out and take on the world, be seen as an authority, an expert, and grow their business by sharing that knowledge and expertise with others. Now, I studied performing arts, and I spent 20 years of my career traveling the world as a professional singer-songwriter. I teach you the secrets to speak up and be heard, overcome your fears, and then use these skills to build a business and a life that you love and that could change both your own life and the lives of others. This is your one-stop shop for all things that are going to help you to build a life on your terms. This is Impact Through Voice.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you, stranger?
It's been a
I'm
very
doing
long
great.
time, but good to
It's
see
been
you.
too long. Good to see you as well.
I think there's going to be immense value that you're going to have to share based around sales, how you use your voice, how that connects with people and the industry at the moment. But the first thing I want to talk about is a bit of an elephant, I think, in the room, is I think sales in general, has a bad rep. I think the majority of people, when they think about sales, they think about people who cold call, they pitch them things that they don't even know what they're talking about, things that they don't need, don't desire. And also, I guess sales people are commission based.
Mhm.
So there is this feeling that they're just out for money. So I want to know, I guess, what your feeling is on that. And then what's the difference between that kind of sales approach that people feel resistant to and this kind of sales that you teach that that I've learned from you and why it's different.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Sales does have a bad rap, and that was predominantly caused during the 80s and 90s, where sales was perceived as that prospect has your money in their pocket, and you've got to do everything you can to get it. And that was how salespeople were taught. Super aggressive, just go after the sale no matter what, sell anybody anything, and people got burned a lot by that approach. Um, and that does not work anymore and hasn't done for 15 years, maybe longer. Um, and so the type of sales that I teach is a far more consultative, question-based selling process that feels very natural, as opposed to just trying to shoehorn money out of somebody. The first thing I will train a rep on is when you have a conversation with somebody, your first uh, goal to achieve, the first thing you want to get is this actually somebody I can help? And if you can, great. If you can't, for whatever reason, you should not try and sell that person.
Yeah.
You should make a recommendation, suggest other things, maybe a less expensive program, whatever it may be. But that's the first thing I teach reps. Not everybody you speak to will be your ideal client persona. So if they're not, do not try to shoehorn them over the line.
You specialize in high ticket sales. Can you explain to my audience who are not all in this coaching marketing space, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, so the whole industry is referred to as the high ticket industry. And it's essentially the industry of coaching and consulting online. Think about it like that. So some people coach weight loss, some people coach muscle building, some people coach voice training and improvements and all of that kind of stuff. And so when anybody refers to it, and I've had numerous conversations online with people jumping into the DMs saying, well, I sell cars, that's high ticket. And they're not wrong.
Mm,
But in our industry, we refer to it as the high ticket industry, but it just literally means the remote online coaching consulting kind of realm.
yeah. And obviously, the ticket price has to be at a certain level to even warrant people getting on a call and having this longer conversation to ascertain whether or not it is a good fit.
Yep. Yeah. Typically sort of $5,000 and up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have done a lot of training. You actually came in and you trained my team for several months a few years back. And
Yeah.
just a little backstory for people as well, how we know each other. First of all, you were the very first person to close me into my very first high ticket investment. And
Sure.
I remember that call vividly. You probably surely don't. You've had so many of these calls, but I remember it
I,
vividly, obviously, because
I
I'm the one.
remember it. I don't remember the details.
No, of course not, because I'm the one parting with the money. It's one thing I think you won't forget, but obviously you were an expert in what you did, and you crossed me across that line very easily. It was such an easy conversation, and then I did come into that program, and then you were working together with our mutual colleague and friend there, who's become a good friend and colleague as well to me now over the years, and and where am I going with this? Yeah, that's just basically the backstory that I've had a lot of connection with you over the years in the area of high ticket sales and learning
Yeah.
from you through these programs as well.
Yeah.
And I guess where I'm going with this, I want to talk about the process of a call.
Hmm.
Just talk us through the different stages that you go through with somebody to ascertain if they're going to be a good fit.
Sure. To simplify it, the way I think about a sales call is broken down into just a few short stages. Number one is discovery. Number two is transition to the pitch. Number three is the pitch, and number four is handling objections. Discovery is designed to build a gap in somebody's mind between where they are and where they would like to be. Okay, that establishes a gap. And there are typically seven beliefs that make up that gap, which are pain, doubt, cost, desire, money, support, and trust.
Okay.
And pain is the pain of the current problem. What is the current situation? What is the problem? You know, what how does that show up? What issues is it causing? All of that kind of stuff. Doubt simply means the doubt that they can solve their problem by themselves. Okay, so they doubt that they can get this done by themselves. Cost refers to the cost of inaction. So if somebody does nothing about their situation, they choose to not take action, they choose to not fix the problem. What is the result of that? What does the future look like if everything stays the same? Desire is obviously desire, the end goal, what you're hoping to achieve by going through this process, by learning these skills, whatever it may be. Money is, are you financially qualified to work with us? Do you have the resources, or at least the resourcefulness to be able to afford what we teach?
Mhm.
Support covers whether or not there is any other decision maker in the process, whether that be a husband, wife, partner, spouse, business partner, whatever it may look like. And then finally, trust is how long has that person followed the influencer? How far along the buying timeline are they? Is this a completely fresh lead who have never heard of us before, or have they been following us for 6 months and know everything about what we do? And then the kind of bolt on to that, like the trust B, if A is, you know, how far along the timeline are they, then trust B would refer to um, how well a person can build trust on the call, which is all to do with not on contrary to popular belief. Everybody thinks, well, that's just the questions that you ask. And it's the exact opposite. It's not the words on the page, it's how you use those words. It's
Yes. I love that you said
the
that.
vocal tonality, the cadence, the pitch, all of that kind of stuff.
I love that you said that because I was going to lead into that eventually to understand how you can work with somebody on those areas because they are obviously extremely important, how you connect with a person and are those areas. There's obviously the areas that I work with people on is how they use their voice, how they can show up as a presence a lot more than just the voice. But on the call, it's only the voice. Unless you're on a Zoom, then it's also your facial expressions as well, and how you react. But how
Sure.
can you teach that?
You have to get them mentally to see themselves a certain type of way. And what I've found through coaching thousands of reps over the years is, and this comes back to somebody asking the question on a call. They said, how do we show up with leadership at the end of the call? Like, how do we? And I said, well, you're thinking about it completely incorrectly. You don't just have leadership at the end of the call. You have to have leadership in yourself. You have to be able to lead yourself. You have to have leadership when you're convincing yourself you need to go to the gym. You have to have leadership with regards to how you keep your space. You have to have leadership when you're with your friends and your family. And I don't mean you have to, lead
Yeah.
them. You've got to be this big leader of people. I don't mean that. I mean you have to have a level of self-agency, because if you can achieve that, then you don't need to have leadership at the end of the call. You just naturally have leadership. Um, and that was one of the biggest shifts that I helped salespeople achieve. Is it's not about turning a switch and faking some kind of leadership. It's about actually having leadership. It's about telling that person what they need to hear, not what they want to hear, and understanding that you're doing it for the right reasons.
Mm.
Because you should be doing it for the right reasons, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And that was really the biggest shift. So I don't teach people to fake leadership. I teach people to have agency in themselves, which results in them naturally having better tonality, naturally having leadership on the call. So now they're not thinking about, oh, how would I say this in a leadership kind of way, which is where most people get it wrong with sales. If you can train yourself to naturally have that without trying to fake it, then everything is 10 times easier.
It comes a lot down to self-confidence too, doesn't it?
Yeah,
How
yeah, for
you
sure.
how you go onto that call as well. And I'd like to talk a bit about that, how you prep for calls as well, get yourself into the right space to be in the right mindset to be on those calls. But you recommended a book to me back in 2021, Psycho-Cybernetics.
Great book.
And I think there's so much value. Obviously, that's why you recommended that book to me in these kinds of topics, how you show up, how you perceive yourself, not just, you know, put on a new face and you're going to feel great, but it's all got to come from inside and how you then show up also, you know, with everything from your voice to your presence, how you show up in everything in your life. It's going to come through in the way you show up also with potential clients and prospects that you're speaking with.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It comes down to the fact that if you are trying to fake leadership or fake authority or whatever it is, your brain has an amazing way of reminding you. If you don't have self-agency, your brain will remind you that you're faking. It will remind you that you're a fraud. Okay. And if you've ever watched or listened to anything by Chase Hughes, if you haven't, you should. It's fascinating. He is one of the global leaders in training special ops people to interrogate, how to react when they're in interrogation, things like that. So he's made his entire life's work the study of psychology and influence and persuasion and things like that. Super fascinating. He's got a great YouTube channel, and he's got a phenomenal book, although it is an eye-watering price.
Okay.
It's like $350 or something, but it is literally
Must
his life's work in a book. It's
must be good.
phenomenal. I have it, and it's a real investment. Um, but what I learned from Chase was that your brain has an uncanny way of reminding you that you're being a fraud. Um, when it does that, so let's say that you're trying to, quote unquote, close somebody, but your dishes are piled up next to your sink and your bed isn't made, and there's washing piling up in the corner, and you're trying to act from a position of leadership and agency, and all the time your brain is saying, "Yeah, that's not really you, though," and that will come through. People are very intuitive and they will hear and see the fact that you are not operating from a place of integrity. They won't necessarily notice it consciously, but subconsciously they will get the sense of, yeah, there's just something a bit off, which obviously kills trust. If people do not believe what you're saying with 100% certainty, then they get that, and you can see them sometimes. They react, these little micro gestures, a little squint of the eyes, a little turn of the head. And if you ever see that, you know that they are questioning who you are, they're questioning your authority, they're questioning your leadership. And that is why having self-agency is so important, so that you can actually speak with conviction and certainty.
And it will come through your voice as well. And
Yeah.
your voice will give away so much that you don't realize.
Yeah. I
And you
did an
have to,
exercise with a group of people that I'm training at the moment. I did an exercise yesterday and I said, put a frown on your face, really scowl, but try and sound upbeat and happy.
it doesn't work.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. Right. I
No,
said, so remember that. Don't think that just because maybe you sell over the phone, don't think that your facial expressions and your body gestures don't matter, because they do.
oh, that's
Because
so true.
your voice will follow how you're showing up physically. So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
So I always tell people to try and stand even when you're on a Zoom call,
yeah,
because, or at least sit up straight and get your
yeah,
body and physical presence into a state of authority and confidence.
yeah.
Because the minute you're hunched over, everything changes.
Everything
Everything.
sounds a little bit more doom and gloom.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. So it is really interesting. Yeah. But I think a lot of what you're talking about here, I think across, not just across into the high ticket coaching sales space, but if you mention that process of taking somebody through, the different phases of a call
hmm,
with somebody, that
yeah,
could even work when you're selling a car. It can work in other things as well. It's
yeah,
getting to know your customer, understanding exactly what they need, what their challenges are, what their pain points are, why this vehicle is going to make a big difference to getting them over all of those issues. So I think it's valuable in all of those areas.
yeah,
And I think it's really important that we we use this, listen more to people. It's a lot about listening, right?
yeah,
Understanding and taking time to not just bombard our opinions and ideas,
yeah.
but to really take a step back and make that customer, prospect, client feel like you get them, like they're nurtured.
Yeah. They need to feel heard. And what I teach my clients is to, as quick as possible, remove the script, because a conversation never follows a script. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't use a framework and you shouldn't follow a certain, ask certain questions at a certain time and all of that kind of stuff. But what kills a lot of newer reps is they will follow the script to the letter. And then all of a sudden somebody that says something, the prospect will say something that is counter to what's written on their script, and they lose their mind. They don't know what to do.
Yes.
So I teach them as quick as I can that you've got to remember that you are having a conversation with another human being. And that human being wants to be understood and heard, and needs to understand that you get their problem. And if you're looking at a script, because obviously you and I both know the brain can't focus on two things at once. Like, multitasking is not a thing, right? What it does is it switches between two tasks very quickly. The problem with that is if you're reading your script, you aren't listening to what they're saying. So you're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna miss vital points. And if your brain is bouncing between listening and reading, so 50% of the time it's listening, 50% of the time it's reading, all of that 50% that it's reading, you are not hearing properly what they're saying.
Yeah.
So I teach them very quickly to get away from the script, use the framework. We're not saying just go pinging off willy-nilly and have a random conversation. Definitely use a framework, but do not rely on that script.
Mm.
Do not read it verbatim. Do not go line for line, because that's just not how a conversation works.
It connects exactly with what I'm teaching also in public speaking. With the minute you go out on a stage and or in front of an audience, and if you're so focused on remembering what it is that you're supposed to say and worrying that you're going to forget something, that you don't notice the reactions of the audience and you don't make that connection with the audience, and there's always going to be that disconnect. So a
Absolutely.
similar thing, you have key frameworks. So you have your chunking of what you want to talk about, and then you stay within those in the moment, but you're definitely not trying to stick word for word to something that you've memorized, or even if it's not memorized, I have to deliver it in this way.
Yep,
Then you're not
100%.
adaptable in the moment.
Yeah, correct. And this is what happens with reps all the time.
Yeah.
Somebody will ask them a random question that they didn't expect, and you can see them scanning their script for how do I respond to that? And obviously the way you respond is like a human being, you know. If you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer. If you do know the answer, help them out a little bit with the answer and then get back onto your
Yeah.
framework. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny. I had a scam caller yesterday on the line. He called me three times, and he was clearly following a script, vertebrum, word for word. And I actually said to him, I said, "Oh, I've thrown you off. You're not able to go off the script now." I was really playing with him because I love to do this with these scam callers. They're so
I love to
obvious.
waste their time as well. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was very clear. I've been given a script and I must follow this script. And if they drift off this, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, is basically.
Woeful, isn't it?
Okay, let's shift a little bit into the coaching aspect
Hmm.
because now you are a coach. I'm a
Yep.
coach, so we are now in this coaching space where we're offering services to people to enhance their lives, make make things better for the people who need our support. And you were
Yep.
telling me previously, and one of the things that we love about this coaching space is that you get to choose how you want to live your life. You can adapt everything as an entrepreneur and consultant coach that it's everything's in your control.
Yep.
You can live to get great results, but also build something scalable, but also build in your lifestyle into that.
Yep.
And you were saying to me earlier that that's a big problem for a lot of people is they start to grow this business, they get the growth and they're helping people, maybe even not because they're growing so fast that they're not even able to give their clients the nurturing that they need. And then they're also losing out on what they really wanted to do, and that's the coaching itself and helping people.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. I noticed through conversations that I was having with a lot of different coaches, the reality is most people started a coaching business because they want some form of time, money, and location freedom. Like that's why they started. Unfortunately, what happens is a lot of people end up with complicated funnels and huge teams and being responsible for a lot of people and being a CEO or an executive manager and still worrying every day about revenue because now I've got all of these expenses. What if revenue plummets? And so they still have very high levels of stress. And most people who started a coaching business did not start a coaching business because they wanted to be a CEO. They did. I mean, some people do, and that's fine, you know, if that's your bag. But a lot of people that I speak to didn't want that. It's like I didn't want to be a CEO. I wanted some time, I wanted some money, and I wanted to be free to do what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
And a lot of people end up building this beer moth of a business, and they go, okay, well, I mean, I'm making some money, but my God, I am burning out, still working ridiculous hours. Now I've got all the responsibility of a team, which is, you know, that's taxing and stressful. And they don't have what they originally signed up for. So what I do is I help people build very simple coaching businesses to between 50 and 100K a month with 90% profit margins so that they can actually have what they started a business to get, which is time, money, and location freedom.
Yeah.
And I know people running super successful businesses, 200K, 300K, 400K a month, but their margins are so clipped. You know, they're especially with rising ad costs, it's getting harder and
Oh.
harder to make things like traditional VSL
Hmm.
funnels convert. Um, and prices continue to rise for advertising, and the cost to acquire a client, your CAC, goes through the roof.
Yep.
And then they're lucky to get 10 or 15% margin. And once you take tax off of that and all the rest of it, they're like, so I had a conversation with a coach the other day and I said, well, would you rather run a 300K a month business with all the stress in the team and a 15% profit margin, or would you rather run a 100K a month business with a tiny team and a 90% profit margin? And straight away, so yeah, no brainer, no brainer. Yeah, I'd rather do that. I'd rather not have the stress. I'd rather have more money.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, that's a pipe dream, right? They think, yeah, 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 but that's not actually doable. Well, it is doable. It's very doable. I've got lots of clients doing it. So
Well, we have the advantage now that AI can take on so much in our business.
yeah,
And so I think moving forward, that gives us a lot of opportunity to still scale, but
yeah,
reduce that time involvement and the
yeah,
cost, obviously, of employing other people to do tasks that now can be taken over by AI.
yeah, yeah. Most of my clients have just one setter and one closer. And that's
Right.
that, maybe they have a VA, maybe they have
Yeah.
somebody that does their video editing, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that's it. That's their whole team.
Yeah.
5 people, including them.
Yeah. That's pretty close
So
to what we are at the moment as well.
perfect.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Um,
So much more freedom, much less stress, so much more money in your pocket without. And I just think people, I think a lot of the time people have been sold the dream. Got to run a VSL funnel. You've got to keep piling leads into that funnel. And to be fair, that system worked, 18 months ago. But because of the trust recession that we find ourselves in, um, it's getting harder and harder and harder to make that convert, especially if you're a newer coach. Like the last piece of advice I would give to a newer coach is to run a VSL funnel. I would say
hmm.
run like the wind away from a VSL funnel because there are
I
much simpler ways to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're going for the higher prices. If it's something very, very low ticket, it's a different
Yeah.
story. I think if it's a, 20, 30, even $50 offer, that
Yeah.
can, I think it can still work as long as you are showing up as being credible, you're being seen on social media
Yeah.
and building your authority in your industry. But I don't think VSLs have worked very well for quite a long time for anything high ticket because people can skip around on a video. They
Yeah.
can jump to the end, they can not watch it at all. It's on the page, but they can skip and click a button and move forward, and they still don't know anything about you.
Yeah.
But what about the webinars? What's your opinion on webinars?
Uh, I think webinars, depending on the niche or the vertical, obviously in our space, coaching and consulting, um, webinars are like people have been webinared to death. Do you know what I mean? But if you were to run a webinar in maybe I don't know, maybe you're a coach who teaches architects or something, a
Yeah,
niche or a vertical that have not been webinared to death.
yeah.
I think they can still work and they definitely improve results based on, and I've made a video about this recently, Google's 7-11-4 rule. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
Yes, I think I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, Google took, I think it was 30
Yes.
billion data points that they've gathered over the last couple of years, and recognized that now, in order for somebody to be ready to buy from you, they need to have consumed 7 hours of your content across 11 different touch points over 4 different platforms.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's so much more than it was 2 years ago. two
Yes.
years ago, those numbers were more like 3, 5, 1. Do you know what I mean? So that just goes to illustrate how much the trust recession is hitting, that people need to consume that much more before they're ready. And the reason that that kind of traditional VSL is failing is because imagine every lead these days costs you, I don't know, 50, $100 per lead, not a booked call for a lead.
Yes. Yeah.
And the statistic is that only 1% of your market is ready to buy right now,
Mm.
which means you're spending money on generating every 100 leads you generate, which is costing you an arm and a leg. Only one of them is ready to buy, which is why margins are being crushed so hard with traditional funnels and stuff like that. But yeah, based on Google's 7-11-4 rule, I still think a webinar can work because you're managing to get the seven part of that rule up exponentially.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so depending on the niche, I think a webinar can still work, but even webinars are for a lot of people are struggling.
I think they are still working for us, but it's much harder to get the good opt-in rates that we used to be getting 30,
Right.
35% opt-in rates. So dropped down to maybe 15% now.
Yeah.
And retention is still really good. And they're still working for us to get those book calls and people who
Right.
are genuinely interested. Because
Yeah.
the way that we advertise, and you'll know this, is to use the YouTube ads
Yeah.
that are speaking to the pain point in the moment they have the pain point. And so it's still very possible to get people in who are already have that threshold. They already are on the line of I'm looking, I need something, and I need a solution to this problem.
Yep.
the big issue is the cost of getting those people in is so much higher that you can't get. Previously, you could have hundreds of leads coming in a day, and now you're down to maybe 20, 30,
Yep.
depending obviously always on how much you're prepared to spend on your ads. And to get that
Sure.
return on investment, it's much harder, at least on the front end. But
Yep.
then we still have our email list, right? So with our
Yep.
email list, we can then continue to nurture them through that 7-Eleven rule that you can send them more to your YouTube videos,
Yep.
to your YouTube channel. They can absorb more content until they are eventually trusting enough and ready to make it. But it's a much longer sales process, isn't it?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a longer sales cycle now, and I think what coaches and people that operate in any kind of digital capacity need to appreciate is that you just have to reconcile yourself with the fact that it's going to take longer to nurture somebody. It's going to take a little bit of time because the statistics are this: every 100 leads you generate, 50% of them will just never buy.
Yeah.
They just won't. 50% of them will never buy. 1% of them will be ready to buy right now, which leaves 49% that maybe will buy tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. And the trick is, how do you stay top of mind? How do you nurture those people to show up when the time is right for them? And that's what the real kind of game that's being played at the moment is if you can do that effectively, then the social engine that I teach people is incredibly effective at nurturing leads. Whereas, yes, email still super important, and that becomes part of the nurture.
Mm.
But traditional VSL funnel, they're not great at nurture, but the way you described it is perfect. You're sending people back to long form pieces of content so that you're racking up those 7 hours across multiple platforms,
Yeah.
because now they've seen you on YouTube and YouTube channel and now email. Do you know what I mean? So you're
Yes.
getting your 4 up there. And then your 11 touch points is made much easier. So yeah, it sounds like you're doing a great job.
You shared something recently that I followed, whereby you're talking about, and this is exactly into these touch points, where
Hmm.
you get people on Instagram, you send them across to your YouTube channel, then you bring them back to Instagram. Share a
Yeah.
little bit about that strategy that is this what
Yeah.
you're teaching through?
Yeah. It's a so this is what I call a hybrid social engine.
Right.
Hybrid because we are layering organic and paid strategies. Um, Content because we're utilizing content to do this. Because most people go, oh God, I'm going to go blind on content. I've got to make a gajillion reels a month, and it's not that at all. Because Sabri Subi said recently, what is winning right now is taking good performing organic content and amplifying it with ads, which is what we teach our clients to do.
Yep.
So you amplify already proven content, and you just reach a larger audience by layering in paid. And then the engine is because we're kind of funneling them through these engine chambers: Instagram over to YouTube, onto your email list, and then making strategic CTAs at various different points on email and maybe Instagram stories and YouTube, in order to get people to come back and either enter the funnel or to shoot you a message and say, hey, look, I've consumed your stuff, I would love to explore working together.
Mm.
Which is obviously a very different conversation for a salesperson. Like, if somebody's reached out to go, I'm interested in talking to you about working together, than somebody jumping on a call and going, so tell me who you are and what you do.
Yes.
It's like you're on so much of a back foot at that point, which
Yeah.
is how traditional funnels kind of operate. You're getting very cold leads, getting them to consume a 10 or 15-minute VSL, and then expecting them to convert into high ticket clients in like one massive leap. Whereas the hybrid social engine just takes that massive leap and breaks it into much smaller, easier to achieve chunks.
I love that. Actually, we've started to implement something very similar, doing that, where even to run ads and keep them on YouTube. So instead of running ads and sending them across and away to a funnel, what we're testing at the moment is to run ads, but send them straight to your YouTube channel so they can start to consume more content. A much cheaper way of advertising because YouTube's happy,
Sure.
you're keeping them on the platform, and then you're building that trust. I don't think that anyone can get away with not building a personal brand anymore and
I agree.
not being present, as you've said, across all of these platforms, or at least a significant. selection of these platforms
Yeah.
to build trust in this
Yeah.
new age that we are living in and moving into.
I agree. 100%. Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of slept on building my own personal brand on platforms like Instagram. I did reasonably well. I don't know what it is, 70,000 or something on TikTok, but um yeah, not bad. I was just
That's
messing
good.
around, really. Yeah, it's not bad. But I slept on YouTube and I slept on Instagram, and my biggest regret is that I took those two platforms more serious earlier. But yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? We're on the case now. So,
Yeah.
and they both are growing steadily. So, we just need to keep on keeping on.
And it's no longer about how many followers you have, but it's now about the quality of the people who are absorbing your content, whether or not they are
Yeah,
people who'd be interested to work with you, to learn from you, to buy from you. So
yeah.
numbers are not the game anymore.
No, and this is the other kind of bugbear is every other ad I get hit with on any platform is here's how you can go viral. Here's how you can go viral. It's like, well, you just don't need to go viral.
Yeah.
And again, I made a video and I know creators with channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers making no money.
Yep.
I also know creators with 5,000, 10,000 subscribers doing 100, 200K a month.
Yep.
It's not about going viral. It's about making sure that your content hits and resonates with your target market.
Exactly. I know a lot of content creators who went for the viral, went to for the millions of followers, but have now started new channels from scratch
Yep.
to just build authority with the right audience.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what you should do. And it's kind of a bitter pill to swallow because most people they love that dopamine hit when you get, X amount of
I
likes and
know.
X amount of
Yes.
followers. And I'm guilty of it too. I've
Oh,
had to
me
kind of
too.
train myself out of it. But if you got a video that got 100 views, but those 100 people are your perfect ICP, your perfect client persona, that's infinitely better than a video that gets 10,000 views, but none of them are your ideal client market. So you've kind of got to retrain yourself to go, look, 100 views is great if those people are in my market and resonate with what I teach.
I want to ask you what you think of moving into having AI even make calls, and AI outbound agents, inbound agents, at least for, let's say, a closer role.
I I have mixed feelings about it.
Okay.
Um, I I still don't think AI is good enough to replace people in the sales position. That where I help my clients use AI the most is in the marketing, content creation, all of that kind of stuff. I think when it gets down to brass tacks and people are, we're talking kind of bottom of funnel now, where people are, you actually need a conversation.
Mm.
I still don't think AI is at a place where it can replace the EQ of a human. Now, I have no doubt it will get there, but I don't think it's there yet. So I've tried countless outbound agents,
Have
and
you?
yeah, yeah, and I've never seen one do a better job than a person can.
So that's
So
outbound calling, where you're calling a prospect, or let's say that's more like a closer position you're referring to. Sorry,
yep,
a setter position. So
yep,
somebody who sets a call for the closer to then take to the next level.
yep,
Setter, an appointment setter, basically.
yeah,
Yeah. So you
yeah.
still feel even for that role, it's not there yet.
It's nowhere near there yet. It's nowhere near. It,
I-
it
Interesting,
it's
because
just not.
I'm asking you this as a professional because we were toying with the idea of putting one into place.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. You will hemorrhage leads using one of those things. And again, I think they'll get there for sure. They're
Yeah.
getting better, but they're just not there. They don't have. It's the thing that is very difficult to teach a robot, which is emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Very hard to teach a robot that. And that's absolutely required to be able to navigate a conversation professionally.
Yeah.
You can get plenty of these AI agents that'll go, "Hi, John, haven't spoken for this long. Would you like to book a call?" Like you can get it to do basic stuff, but if you're trying to navigate the nuance of a human conversation, AI still cannot do it. It is, I would suggest probably 2 years off from being able to do that effectively at the moment.
Interesting. I've seen some pretty good examples, but yeah, I've
Yeah,
been skeptical the whole, definitely. I mean, obviously closing people, there's no way, and there's going to be, I don't even know if and when that would ever happen.
yeah,
But to
not yet.
me, this, what's happening with AI and everything changing as we move into this whole new age.
Yeah.
For me, communication skills are the one thing that people have that will will still never be taken over. I don't think that how you can communicate your own ideas, your own beliefs, your own messaging can't be taken over by a robot.
Mhm.
And that,
Not yet.
yeah, but even having conversations like this, people still will need communication skills. You yes, maybe we'll have a chip one day and we can just zoom it into send an email to somebody and it'll all be done. But
Yeah.
I still think communication skills are at the top.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But and it's exactly the same reason, is that it's hard to train a robot to have emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
You can train it to regurgitate sentences, sure. But when it comes to managing that conversation, for the same reason that I train salespeople to get away from the script as fast as possible, because you have to have that ability to maneuver that conversation in a
Mm.
strategic way. And I just don't think AI is good enough to do that yet.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and maybe it will never be able to replicate a human conversation. I don't know. I don't know. The way it's moving, maybe it will. We'll all be out of a job then. But
Yeah.
but at the moment, it's nowhere near. It's just nowhere near. But it is great at helping to navigate other stuff like content creation, more top of funnel stuff. Super useful.
Speaking of being out of a job, is what I'm feeling, even in our space, in the coaching space, because people can find their solutions on AI, go and ask AI, and they can find almost anything. What's shifting is not the content that we can provide, because they can find that anywhere, but now it's about the experience that they
Yep.
have, the connection with people. And there we go, people again. That's what makes it interesting and enticing for people. It's not necessarily the content that they could go and find anywhere just by searching on ChatGPT and other platforms.
Yep.
But it's now that yeah, real
It,
person
I think you're
experience.
right. Information is no longer valuable. Implementation is what's
Yes.
valuable.
Yeah.
It's the implementation. So I often talk to my clients about this. I should say, look, you should essentially give all of your strategy away. Just
Mm.
give it away, because they can go and ask ChatGPT and it'll give
Yeah.
them pretty much the same answer.
That's a good
So
point.
people, they won't pay for information. They will pay for implementation. It's like, okay, I know I have all the information. I just don't have the wherewithal to be able to piece it together in the right order at the right time and deploy the correct system. That's what they pay for. They
Yeah.
pay for implementation, not information.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's also, I think, building more trust
Mm,
is obviously it's you've already said this, the longer somebody spends time with you, the more they've built that trust, you've built the connection, and the more ready they will be to buy. So
yep,
what I see is working also as challenges. These were they
yep,
were a big thing a while back, and then they disappeared, and now they've come back again. These
yeah,
3 day, 5 day challenges. The longer you spend with somebody, you get them to a point, and then they're more ready to make a buying decision.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. And for that reason, right? What are we doing? We're trying to rack up the 7 hours of consumption.
Yeah,
So a challenge, 3 day, 5 day, great. Super easy to get that 7 hours racked up. So yeah. And it's funny, isn't it? Because marketing tends to come in
yeah,
ebbs and flows, and Facebook groups were all the rage for a bit and they were doing really, really great, and then they dropped off a cliff, and then it was back to groups with school.
yes,
You know what I mean? And so there was a period of time where VSLs did great, and then they dropped off a cliff, and
yeah,
then VSLs came back, and then
yeah,
they dropped off, and it was webinars, and now webinars are down. And it's funny, isn't it? It tends to come in
yes.
ebbs and flows. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Well, I think, people are wanting now this live experience. They're done with everything pre-recorded, and is this even real? They're questioning everything. Whereas if you're showing up live and you're responding to people live, well, it's very clear that you are a real person and
Yeah.
you care as well when you're able to interact with people on a live session.
Uh, and I think that's super valuable because I've noticed a lot of people will actually crave, it's like, I don't want a robot to tell me what to do. I
Yes.
want to have a connection with a person. I want a human to tell me what to do. And I think there's definitely started to be a sort of shifting in the tide of people getting a little bit, um, a little bit fed up with AI. And they're like, no, I'm craving human attention. I don't want to talk to a robot all day long. I want to talk to a person. So, probably best to bear that in mind because people want human connection.
Yeah. And then it all comes back again to what we were talking earlier on about how we speak, making that connection
Yeah,
through emotional connection.
yeah,
So understanding how to use your voice so that it connects with the personality of the person that you are speaking with.
100%. Super important. See, because that's exactly the thing that a robot can't replicate.
Mm. Yeah.
It can replicate sentences, it can't replicate feeling, sincerity, certainty, authority. That's the one thing it can't do.
Do you teach mirroring as well when you're working with sales reps?
Yeah. Yeah. Certainly an element of it is about mirroring to an extent, you know. And the way I always explain that to reps is I say, well, imagine some dude in a Hawaiian shirt and board shorts gets approached by a guy in a pinstripe three-piece suit. Like they don't feel that they're even from the same planet. Do you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
vice versa, right?
Yeah.
If you try to sell to an investment banker and you walk in there in, sandals and board shorts, he's going to look at you like you've got three heads. So mirroring somebody to an extent I think is an important part of the process. If somebody's got kind of a flat energy, a little bit lower energy, and you come in like the Duracell bunny, they're probably not going to vibe with you particularly well. And vice versa. If you have a prospect in front of you that is like a Duracell bunny, but you're a little bit more subdued like that, they're going to go, oh God, I don't even know this person,
Yes.
you know? So it's important to mirror to an extent, but some people take that too far. They take it to the nth degree. And
To
I do call
try and
reviews.
put on
I'm like,
exactly the
what
same
were you
voice, or the person
doing
is
on that
arrogant, or
call?
now I'm
Yes.
sorry,
Yeah,
I'm just
that
talking
was
over
just
you.
weird. Yeah.
Sorry.
So to a point, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's interesting you said, somebody in a Hawaiian shirt. I'm visualizing that actually as you say that. And then somebody in a real pinstriped suit. Now, for me, I think your visual image, talking about personal branding again, your visual image will always be overridden by your vocal image.
Yep,
So
I
you
would agree.
can be in the Hawaiian shirt, but if when you speak, you have the voice of authority on your topic, you are passionate, then that is going to override. But if you are in the pinstripe suit, but then your voice comes out very soft and shaky and insecure,
Right.
then the
Yep.
voice will always override
Yep.
how you appear.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. This has been a really interesting conversation. I really enjoyed it. I want to
Me
know
too.
from you before we wrap it up today, are there any books that you would recommend? I've already talked about, or you've recommended Psycho-Cybernetics.
Psycho-Cybernetics, I would
I
say, is a just like you can't afford to not read that book. Um, in terms of sales, I think there's a couple of books. The Inner Game of Tennis is phenomenal. It's not a sales related book, but it kind of is as well. But that's a great, but all about the internals of a person and how you manage those internals. Um, probably the number one book I get most of my clients to read, students, sorry, if they're coming to me for sales coaching, is The Challenger Sale. And I can't remember the name of the author; it escapes me.
called The Challenger Sale.
The Challenger Sale. Yeah, it's great book, which
Okay.
is how to conduct a sales conversation from a position of leadership, and how to not be afraid to challenge people when it's required.
Okay.
Um, really
Well, I
important
think that's not just for sales. That's anybody also
in
in
general.
leadership.
Yep, I
I
would
feel
agree.
so much of what we talked about today crosses the board through working with teams, understanding people, and being able to lead with authority, be able to listen well to conversations and connect emotionally.
Agree, 100%.
Geoff, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, if somebody wants to work with you, what's the best way to reach out to you? I know you're on now multiple different social channels.
Omnipresent. Yeah. Easiest way is through Instagram. If
Okay.
you want to reach out through Instagram, if you want a kind of detailed video on how to build a hybrid social engine, then if you come to Instagram and DM me the letters 90, then I'll send it over free. You don't need to opt in or anything like that. And I'll send you a free resource on exactly how you build a hybrid social engine.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I will definitely share that and put everything in the show notes as well, so they can go to your profile. I'll mention that that's the best way to get something from you that will help them.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. Can't
Thank
wait to share this with everybody, and we'll see you soon.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Impact Through Voice podcast. Now, if you've reached the end of this episode, then it means you're enjoying the podcast. So I have a quick favor to ask. If you haven't yet subscribed, please go and do it now, and even leave us a review, because it really does help us so much to reach more people and impact more people. And I would be very, very grateful. Now, I love to read all of your comments about the show and what you're enjoying, what you would like to hear more of. So please take the time and go and do that now. When you do that, please take a screenshot and then tag me on Facebook or Instagram. That's Lisa Hugo Official. Now, I'm going to be sure to share your post, and I'm also going to private DM you with a thank you. And it also means you won't miss an episode. And as a subscriber, then you're going to get access to more content that we don't even open up to everybody. So thanks again. And until next time, keep on working towards your goals and making a positive impact on the world with your voice.